Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a sloppy sports and entertainment talk show that covers New York Giants football, Mets baseball, movies and TV shows with some funny stories and life lessons mixed in for good measure. It's hosted by a Giant Mess. That's me, the Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a former college quarterback and pitcher and current over-analyst. On today's episode, we're going to take a look at the New York Mets getting swept by the Braves, losing 2 of 3 to the Pirates, Pete Alonso out 3 to 4 weeks on the IL with a contusion on his wrist after being hit by a pitch. Is all hope lost? We'll take a look at the current standings. We'll put it into context. It's not even mid-June. We're still a little more than a month away from the All-Star break. We got a ways to go, about 42 games until the trade deadline. We'll take a look at some moves, some tough decisions that might have to be made, some tough choices, and some prospects for the trade deadline, right? What are the areas of need, the biggest areas of need? How are you going to prioritize them? And where do we go from here, right? I still believe. Do you still believe? That's the big question. And no Giants this week. Sorry. I don't know that there's stuff out there, but I don't think it's worth your time. I don't think it's worth my time. It's all stuff we've talked about before. So it's a Mets only episode. And we get started in 3, 2, 1. All right, so last episode we talked about how we prefer not to get swept by the Braves in Atlanta, but our record historically in that godforsaken city, in that godforsaken state, has been atrocious. We just cannot win down in hot Atlanta, and so I didn't really have high expectations going into it. I thought maybe we could definitely possibly steal 1 of 3, and who knows if we can get 2 of 3, right? And it looked like in the first game with Cookie Carrasco on the bump, I kind of chalked that up as like, it's probably an L. But through 5 innings, we're up 4-1, and it looked like maybe the tides are turning. You know, maybe we've turned the page, we flipped the script, and that 6th inning, everything came apart. So we get down 5-4. And then the bullpen lets up another run late in the game to make it 6-4. That's a game I felt like we let escape from us. Is that a game where you would have liked Buck to probably go to the bullpen a little bit earlier and save Cookie so he doesn't get into that mess? But, you know, who are you going to bring in? And we'll get into this when we talk about the trade deadline, because I don't know there are a lot of dependable, reliable arms that you can bring in out of the bullpen that can come in and you feel strongly about holding or stopping the damage, stopping the bleeding. You know, Carrasco was doing his thing, and he looked like the Carrasco of the past 2 or 3 starts, where this is kind of uncharted territory for Cookie. Like, we haven't seen him pitch like this in a Mets uniform. So I was excited about the renaissance of Cookie. Like, that sounds like a great story. The fact that he's overcome so much in his career and in his personal life, and putting up what I would consider to be the best he's put up in a Mets uniform. And so I thought we were getting more of that with this game. And then, of course, it all comes undone in that 6th inning. So Drew Smith is the next guy up. And in a deeper bullpen, Drew Smith is not getting this many innings and appearances. And I think once the bullpen feels fixable, right? Starting rotation, it feels like we're kind of in this quagmire, and I don't see us getting out unless we make some bold moves, bold decisions. I have a hot take. I will save it for that section when we do talk about the trade deadline. But Drew Smith is not the guy. And I know I've given a lot of leash to some other players, namely Daniel Vogelback, who appears to be on his way to being DFA'd. You know, there are a lot of bats that go through slumps for long stretches of time. And, I remember Lucas Duda. I don't know why that sticks out to me, but Lucas Duda was sent down to the minors after like 6 weeks of slumping, comes back and is able to put up some numbers. So it's a long season for batters, a long season for pitchers, but I just don't have any kind of confidence in Drew Smith whatsoever. Anytime I see he's coming in, I'm just like, well, that's at least a run that we just given up. So, but there are not many options. I mean, Jeff Brigham has been, like we've said, from week to week, seems to be one of the more consistent guys that's not a setup man, right? Ottavino has had his struggles and troubles, and he had a walk and an earned run, 2 hits, and his 1 inning in that 6-4 loss. P. Alonso goes 1 for 4 with 2 ribbies. Lindor 1 for 3 with the 2 ribbies. McNeil, the run scored. Narvaez coming back off the IL, 1 for 2 with the run scored. Good to see him in the lineup, and I think it gives you, with him back and with Alvarez cooking, this lineup becomes more versatile and more explosive and powerful. And they certainly held up their end of the bargain in this Braves series. It was not on the offense per se. Sean Murphy was a problem for us, 1 for 4, 2 ribbies. Ozzy Albies, 1 for 3 with a ribby. Marcell Ozuna, who should be in jail, 1 for 4, 2 ribbies. Orlando Arcia, a new Mets killer, and now in the mix. Orlando Arcia, 2 for 3 with a ribeye. So, I didn't know that. I thought we had a shot here, and we did, and we let it slip away. So, 4 hits, not great. That's not going to win you many games. So, you could say that the offense kind of sputtered, right? It had that big 3rd inning and then nothing, just goose eggs for the rest of the game. So, that would be like the least of our concerns in this Braves series. I mean, the next day, June 7th, we're up 2-1 and we're up 4-1, 4-3, and then our bullpen can't come through in the 7-5 loss. Max Scherzer in the first 5 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run. And I think 5 of the 6 hits were like infield hits or something like that. Some crazy statistic. Strikeouts were high, and it seemed like, all right, we have this. We're in cruise control. We got this. And then just as it happened with Cookie, it happens with Max. Wheels come off in the 6th inning. He gives up 5 more hits and 4 more earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. And then Ottavino gives up another earned run and another appearance, back-to-back appearances, giving up an earned run. Tommy Pham, 1 for 2, 3 RBIs and runs scored. Brett Beatty had a ribeye. Jeff McNeil, 1 for 4 with a run scored. Lindor, 1 for 3 with a run scored. Alvarez, 1 for 4 with a ding dong. But we got to Charlie Morton. I think Charlie Morton has been kind of a thorn in our side. There was some crazy stat about Charlie Morton where like he's now had, is he and R.A. Dickey in terms of number of wins after the age of 36, I want to say 35, 36. He had like 26 wins or something like that in his first however many years, dozen years. And then he's had like 40 some odd wins ever since he turned 36. So good on you, Charlie Morton. Even though you're brave and I hate the Braves, I am an old, as they say. And so it's good to see that old people can still do stuff. But we did get to him. He only pitched 4 2/3, 4 hits, 4 earned, 4 walks, 5 Ks. Yet again, Sean Murphy was a problem. And Michael Harris was the one with the big blow. 3 for 4, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored. So, that one was tough. Had the lead, gave up the lead late in the game. That's just that was the story of the series. We got out front, and that's, stay ahead, get ahead, stay ahead. That was the mantra going into this. Like if we get, the statistics have proven and shown, like when we get a quality start from our starter and we score first, like the stars align and we churn out dubs. But that's just wasn't the case in Atlanta against the Braves this series. Thursday was the backbreaker for a lot of fans, a lot of Mets fans, and a lot of people just in sports media, saying like that's got to be the worst Mets loss. Sometimes people are saying ever, and it's like, you probably haven't been around long enough to see a lot of the Mets losses that these eyes done seen. because they've had some pretty brutal losses. And, I think a lot of people, myself included, were not expecting this, but not shocked and not surprised that this happened. I mean, the fact that Tommy Hunter's on the rubber, toeing the rubber in the extra innings against like the meat and potatoes, the heart of the Braves lineup, it's like probably not making out of this series alive, out of this game alive. The blame that I put for this game is on Justin Verlander. My man went 3 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned, 4 walks, 3 Ks. I didn't like the signing coming into this. I didn't like it, and I was against it. And I'll go to the videotape. Let's go to the records, the archives, and you'll see that I did not want Justin Verlander on this team. And there are stats to prove why the combination of him and Scherzer is not a good omen for the Mets in terms of making the playoffs and making it far in the playoffs. Again, I'm a fan. When we signed him, I'm like, all right, got to give him the support. And I'm here to support as a fan. But at the same time, he's not giving us quality starts from week to week, start to start. And I think that starting pitching out of everything and anything is our biggest crutch. And it's going to kill us for the rest of the season. I really do think that. Because I don't know that 2 dudes on the precipice of 40 are going to magically endure 162 games and into October. I just don't see that happening. I have a lot of belief in this team, in this offense, and I think the bullpen is fixable. I think those areas are we're okay. I'm not ringing the alarms. I'm not raising any flags. Like that to me feel all right about that kind of stuff. The starting pitching is I would say an unmitigated disaster. Is that an overreaction? Maybe, but we don't have it. Even Kodai Senga, who has been probably our number one. Statistically, he's our number 1 pitcher. He's the one giving us the most quality starts. He's the one that's been as consistent as you can be. And even his starts and his quality starts, there's like, it is not smooth. There are a few innings mixed in there where you're just like, it could get real ugly real quick. So, it just that game 3 of that series, having seen the previous 2 games and knowing our history in Atlanta and knowing the Braves, it was just like, I'm glad that we're fighting and we keep pushing back and we keep getting ahead and keep pushing forward. But I wasn't like shocked and awed that they were able to get back. I completely forgot that we are pretty good against Spencer Strider. I just always forget that, like, because it must be his quads that throw me off. Because you look at on paper, his stat line, it's like, oh, he's just going to come in and mow us down. And we have his number. He went 4 innings, 8 hits, 8 earned, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. And my God, you'd think that would be a W. You'd think that'd be a win for us, but no dice. The back 3 of the 5 pitchers that the Atlanta used managed to corral us. Michael Tonkin came in, gave up 5 hits, 2 earned in 2 innings, and then it was nothing from that point on. Joe Jimenez went 2 innings, struck out 3. Jesse Chavez, an inning, only allowed a hit and 2 strikeouts, and then Raisel Iglesias, 2 strikeouts. So they really clamped down after the first 6 innings when we were just pumping them. Nimmo with a grand slam. I think that was the first grand slam of his career, which is wild to think about. Alvarez 2 for 5, 3 ribbies, 2 runs. Lindor 2 for 4. This was our first game without Pete because Pete got hit in the wrist in the previous game. And, there was, I guess there's video or audio of the Braves fans taunting Pete and like jeering him or cheering that he got hurt. And I know I'm a petty son of a bitch. And in my head, it's like, we have got to retaliate at some point. No, we have got to throw at someone on the Braves, right? Someone that is like their top performer, maybe their number one hitter. Like, I'm all for rattling them. At least, and I thought that's what Verlander was going for. And a lot of our pitchers where they were throwing high and tight and inside. And it's like, I would like to continue to do that and make them uncomfortable in the box. And it just sucks. Like, he's, I guess he's out 3 to 4 weeks. It's not a break, but you know how these things go. That's like, these initial reports are never correct. And so I wouldn't be shocked if he's out more than 3 to 4 weeks, given how things happen with the Mets and the track record there. But it's unfortunate. And I tweeted out after this loss, like, everyone's acting like the season's over. And we're not even halfway through June, and there's 99 games left. Can you imagine saying, oh, the season's over with 99 games left? Maybe if I'm an A's fan, I would say it's over. Maybe. And I'm sure there have been seasons in the past with different teams, different executives, coaches, managers, ownership, that I might have counseled, as they say. But that's not the case this year. It just can't be. I refuse to throw in the towel. Starting pitching is a problem. I don't see us going, like, if this rotation holds for the rest of the year, and that's like our 1 through, with the exception of Quintana coming back, you have Scherzer, Verlander, Kodai, Quintana, Cookie. That's your 1 through 5. I don't know that I have the utmost confidence in that rotation. And I think that that needs to be addressed. And I have a few theories on how to address that, none of which will actually come to fruition. But so then we go to Pittsburgh. No days off. We go right into Pittsburgh the day after an excruciating loss. And Tyler McGill just fails to show up. And he's failed to show up in away games. It seems like he gives his best performances at home. And when he's on the road, maybe he's homesick. I don't know. He misses his mama. Something. Because he went 3 2/3, 8 hits, 7 earned, 3 walks, 1 K. And so from that point on, it was just a home run derby. It was just like, go, crack. Like, just watching balls just explode off the bat into the stands off Zach Muckerhern and Tommy Hunter. And we didn't do much offensively until the end when we scored 5 in the top of the 9th. But that Jack Sawinski, center fielder, he is a problem. 3 for 4 runs, 2 RBIs. Cabrian Hayes, their third baseman, 5 for 5, 3 runs, 4 RBIs. And they had 3 other dudes, Bay, Palacios, and Hedges, all with 2 RBIs each. So, yeah, it was just, that one was like, all right. Apparently Buck had a closed door meeting after the loss after this game or the previous game. I want to say it was this game, but maybe it was the previous game. If it was the previous game, it didn't really work because we lost by a touchdown in this one, 14-7. Dick Mountain, Rich Hill. Man, wouldn't you like to have Rich Hill back? It's like, I started to think about all the Mets pitchers that we just like gave up on. Chris Bassett, Marcus Stroman, Rich Hill. Like, can you just imagine if we had those 3 in the mix right now, what our lives would be like and what our record would be like? Understandably, Stroh was a bit of a headache. Can be a pain in the ass. Bassett, though, it seemed like he was a pretty good fit in the clubhouse. And then Rich Hill, it's like, yeah, he's old, and I know I just like basically ranted about how we shouldn't be like signing old pitchers, but he just seems like he's just Jamie Moyer-esque, and I forget the stat, but he had he was like the first pitcher over some age to have pitched 7, and I don't know. But it just seems like that's happening every game where it's like the opponent's doing something they haven't done in a long time. So that sucked, but we come back the next day and we have Kodai on the mound. And this game I felt very strongly about. I was like, all right, here's the game we win. And we stop the bleeding. We turn things around. Kodai on the mound, he's our best chance of getting a win. And sure enough, he dishes. He gives us the goods. 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs. He had 1 earned run allowed, 2 hits, 4 walks, 6 Ks for a 73 game score. We did commit 3 errors. And this ball game was knotted up at 1 through 6. And then our offense woke up a little bit and managed to secure the victory. David Robertson, an inning and 2 strikeouts, and Adam Ottavino, an inning and a strikeout to secure the win for us. Mark Canha, 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Alvarez, 1 for 4 with an RBI, and Tommy Pham, yet again, 2 for 4 with 2 runs. You can't not have him in the lineup. And as weird as it is to say, like the blow, the loss of Alonso is a major blow, but it almost gives more guys more opportunities, and maybe they start to catch fire. I don't know. I'm trying to put a spin zone and positive on this Alonso thing because I think that's tough. I mean, he's our best hitter across the board in almost every category. So, and other than maybe Lindor and Alvarez, our best slugger. So I just woof. But it does allow for, I guess Pham, who's feeling it right now, to get more at bats. Canha, you don't have to pick between Canha and Pham. You can have them both in the lineup, which is good. There's the ability to have we're getting to see more lineups and more configurations that we have in the past. And that's probably a product of like Buck realizing, okay, what I'm putting out there day to day, every day is just not really clicking. And, he gave Lindor a rest, and they brought up Guillorme with Alonso out. They bring up Guillorme. He goes 1 for 3, the run scored. And Lindor's at DH. He went 0 for 4. Not great, but Mets are 7-0 when the starting pitcher goes 7 or more innings. 7-0. Now, I realize that the average innings pitched per start has gone down league-wide. I get it. But Kodai is really the only dude giving us 7 innings. I think Scherzer did it once. Verlander did it once. They're not doing it on a consistent basis. Kodai is the only pitcher in the National League this season with multiple starts of at least 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs allowed, and 2 hits or fewer allowed. There have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys in the AL to do that so far. So that, to me, that win was huge. Obviously, it stops the 7-game losing streak, and it feels like, okay, maybe we're turning a corner here. Like, that's just what we needed. We just have to get off the schneid. It doesn't matter how, just get a W and stop losing. And so I really thought going into Sunday's game that we had a pretty good shot of taking the series. We had Cookie back on the mound, and it's like, which Carlos Carrasco are we going to get? We're going to get the guy from not the last start or the first. Could we get the first 4 innings or 5 innings, the last starter of Carrasco, and maybe he can just survive into the 5th and 6th? Or are we going to get the guy who ultimately collapses in the 5th and 6th? And it turns out it was the guy who collapses in the 5th and 6th. He entered into the 5th inning. He goes 4 2/3, 6 hits, 2 earned, 3 walks, 1 K. The walks, again, crucial. I think, even Senga in his start, like, it wasn't exactly rainbows and unicorns, man, the whole time. There were like 2 or 3 innings where he's getting out of those by the skin of his teeth. He had Nimmo. It was like a bases loaded, big knock to center field. Nimmo goes up against the wall and catches it to end the inning. He had another inning that, could have got out of hand and had a lot of runs come in and escapes. So it wasn't exactly like he completely dominated, and he did have some issues with walks. Again, he still has to get that under control. He's still not able to minimize the walks. So it just feels like it's an issue with a lot of the Mets pitching, just walks and walks and walks. And while we get walks and don't score, the opposing team always takes advantage of the walks that we give up. So this was an ugly loss, 2-1. Nimmo's 0 for 3, Alvarez 0 for 4. Lindor 0 for 3, Beatty 0 for 3, Narvaez 0 for 3, Vientos 0 for 2, Guillorme 0 for 1. I mean, this Mitch Keller dude basically pulled off a Kodai Senga. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, 7 Ks. I think McCutchen got his 2,000th hit or something like that. Yet again, Jack Sawinski 2 for 4 with a ding dong. So I mean, the Pirates are in first place, and while we kind of wrote them off after they settled down after their hot start, they have picked it back up, and they are now looking like they could be the division winner in the NL Central. So those are those two series, 1 for 6, not great. And with that, we're now 31-35, 9.5 games back of the Braves. We're 2-8 in our last 10, and we played more away games than home games. We're 15-12 at home. We're 16-23 away. So we played 39 away games to 27 home games. And I can't imagine there are a lot of other teams that have that kind of ratio going on, that kind of schedule, and I don't know how they're handling it, but we are not handling it well. We're now 3 games back in the wild card race, which is not that bad. That seems like that's something we can make up. I think you have to, as fans, we have to put winning the East out of our heads. I don't know if anyone's still holding on to that. I think right now it's, let's just keep pace with the wild card. Let's not look at how many games back we are from first or from the Braves or whoever. Let's just make sure that we are keeping pace with the wild card. And it seems it's within reach. 2/3 of the Mets' victories have come by 3 runs or less. And 14 of the Mets' last 16 wins have come within that smaller margin. So when we're winning very close. We're not having what Pittsburgh put on us on Friday night. No blowout wins in our recent history. And I know we've said this a bunch of times before, but if you look at the records from the 3 NL East teams that have gone to the World Series, the Phillies, the 2022 Phillies, the 2021 Braves, and the 2019 Nationals, all 3 of those teams had losing records as on June 9th of their respective seasons. The 22 Phillies, last year's Phillies, were 28-29. The 21 Braves were 29-30. The 2019 Nationals were 30-35. Who knows what the state of those teams were at those times, but you can probably say for sure that they weren't clicking, just like we're not clicking right now. But there's so much fucking season left. That's the bright spot, and I know it probably will get uglier. Like we thought, like, okay, this is rock bottom. No, this is rock bottom. It's as someone who's had multiple rock bottoms in my own life, don't rule out another rock bottom. It could happen again. But I think one of the bright spots for this team that has to give some solace to the fan base is Francisco Alvarez. I mean, the statistics that this dude is putting up are unreal. And it feels like he's legitimate. Like it's not like he got hot for a week or 2 and now we figured him out and we have the book on him and he's struggling. He's continued to produce on an extensive basis. And I feel like that's got to give you some hope and some good vibes, good feelings, because how long has catcher been an issue for us? How long has catcher been a problem for us? We just have not found the solution. And now we have 2 guys that I feel really good about, Alvarez, I feel really good about. And Narvaez is like, okay, obviously better than Nito, obviously better than McCann, probably better than any catcher I can remember in recent history. could be missing someone there, but it feels like Narvaez is the step above what our standard has been. And then Alvarez is just a superstar in the making. Really hope he makes the All-Star. I know many people don't care about the All-Star game, but to be an All-Star in your rookie season would be so huge. Among 211 hitters with a minimum of 100 plate appearances since May 1st, El Troll owns the 10th highest WRC plus with this 168 mark. Now, do I know what WRC plus is? No, dude. Weighted runs created plus. Measures a player's runs created taking into account different league factors. Weighted runs above average, plate appearances, and weighted runs created. The league average WRC plus is 100. And a player who notches a WRC plus of 150 would be 50% above league average. And right now he's at the 168, which is pretty good. He has the highest ISO. This is another fucking stat that I had to look up because baseball has the most ridiculous stats. Highest ISO, isolated power since May 1st with a minimum of 100 at bats. It's JD Martinez at 419 and then Francisco Alvarez at 390. In the last 4 games, he's been 5 for 18, 316 OBP, 1.260 OPS, 4 homers, 6 ribbies, 5 runs. Hitters under the age of 22 to hit 11 or more home runs in any 25-game span. Melott, Jimmy Fox, Eddie Matthews, Frank Robinson, Bob Horner, Adam Dunn, Cody Bellinger, Ronald Acuna Jr., Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr., and then El Troll, Francisco Alvarez. So that's pretty good company to be mentioning. And then the most home runs by a Met under the age of 22 in franchise history, Ed Kranepool with 38. By the way, Ed Kranepool, holy fuck, dude. Darryl Strawberry, 26. Ron Swoboda, 21. David Wright, 14. Francisco Alvarez with 11. 10 home runs in 41 games. He's averaging a homer every 11.33 at-bats. And they're coming in some pretty clutch spots where it's not like the game's completely out of control and he's hitting it off some scrub. It seems like he's hitting them in big spots where it's like ties game, puts us ahead. So the moment's usually not too big for him. Yes, there have been times where it's like we have multiple guys on base, and it's like you can't strike out in that position, dude. Got to work on that. But good to see that after such a underwhelming start to his tenure, at least this season, for him to just be absolutely on fire and to continue to rake is just good news for the Mets. But it's not just offense with Alvarez. His defense has been something. Like I remember when there was an early misstep or mishap he had behind the dish early on, and I was like, I don't know. Like your offense can suffer, but your defense cannot. Like that's what you have to be. You have to nail that down if you want to be able to stay up here at this level. And he has the most defensive runs saved among catchers this season. It's William Contreras +6, Cam Gallagher +6, and then Francisco Alvarez +6. So, Albie, my man, nice to have. And Starling Marte, who I don't know if it's just his demeanor, his disposition. I don't know what it is about Starling Marte, but from an outsider's perspective, sometimes it seems like he's out of it. That's probably the wrong read. And I'm not good at reading people, so I don't know if you should be taking my word for anything. But on paper, the numbers are proving that he's balling. Over his last 29 games, he's batting .307, 14 runs, 1 double, 1 triple, 2 homers, 10 ribbies, 3 walks, 346 OBP, safely reached base in 10 of the last 12, safely hit in 6 of his last 7. He has 18 stolen bases, which matches his total from last year and has him tied for third in the National League. So, there was a sequence in, I think it was the 5-1 game against the Pirates, where it's like that was a sequence from the 2022 season, where it's Marte gets on base, steals second, gets moved over to third, and then scores on a whatever. It just seems like that's the kind of sequence that we're so used to in 2022 that we have not seen in 2023. I know he had a really bad play in the outfield, either against the Pirates or the Braves, where it's just like, I think it was the Braves, and it was just like that. I mean, you're like a veteran. There are some at bats where he's just waving at the ball and he's putting out some nasty, like really ugly swings. And it's just like, is he just not seeing the ball? But then you look at his statistics and you're like, oh, well, he's performing. So, and then he actually got a day of rest today, Sunday. But so offensively, in terms of we're looking at the hitters, the batting, like we were very down on the corner outfielders for a while. It was, Canna and Marte, they're not really playing up to what they were doing in 2022, and they're really hurting us. And now Canna had a great series against the Phillies, and then had a pretty good game against the Pirates. Marte's been playing better. So where is it offensively that we're getting let down? The loss of Alonso obviously is going to put a dent in our production, but McNeil, who had a home run today, in the series finale against the Pirates. That was his first home run since May 1st and his third of the season. And he did have a double, I think, on Friday night. And extra base hits were an issue. Where it's like he's slapping the ball and getting hits. And, it'd be nice to get a couple more doubles. This is going to sound friggin' obvious. But small ball is tough. Small ball is fucking hard. To move base to base, station to station, and score runs is hard. Anyone that is able to do that and succeed and win, God bless you. Because I don't know that that's like typically the recipe for success. And I know that we did it last year, but I don't know that we can duplicate it this year and replicate it this year. Like you can see, I forget what it was, but it was like double, hit him over, sac fly, or double, one. So in 2 hits, you got to run. Versus 2 singles, it's like you got a guy in first and second, and then the guy hits into a double play. And it's like, so yeah, more extra base hits, please. Even Nimmo, for him having the highest batting average on the team, is not necessarily slugging. Like that grand slam was huge and awesome, but he has not been hitting a lot of home runs, and I don't know that he's been hitting a lot of doubles. Even though he's had a, I think he leads the team in triples. I don't know that he's hitting a lot of doubles. Like Canna feels like a double machine. Like that's kind of where he is, where his wheelhouse is, his sweet spot is in doubles. We're just not a lot of extra base hits. Doubles. They're so huge, and it makes life easier. It really does. Double, run. Single, man on first and second, and then we got to figure it out. Like, hopefully someone comes through again, and the odds are not in our favor. This ain't the friggin' Hunger Games. So, yeah. Speaking of Pete, most home runs in Mets history. He's now 5th on the list behind Hojo. He's still got I don't know that he might catch Hojo this season. I don't know. He's got 22. He's out for a month. 22 through 60 some odd games, 160. He could catch Hojo by the end of the season. If not this season, at the beginning of next season, he should be able to surpass Hojo. And then Piazza's next on the list at 220. Alonso's right now at 168, so he's less than 30 away from Hojo. I think he's like 24 home runs. So yeah, he could catch Hojo this season. And then he'd probably catch Piazza next year, knock on wood. And then I don't know if he'll catch Wright or Strawberry, but here's hoping. And then the rumors going around, I guess Carlos Baerga posted something on Instagram saying the Mets are going to call up Ronny Mauricio this week. Ronny Mauricio has been tearing the cover off the ball down in minor leagues. He did have an injury scare, like he had a collision. There was something with his knee or his ankle or something. So that'll be interesting to see. I think the MRIs or X-rays or whatever came back negative, so he should be good to go. We're now getting super crowded in the infield. And it's like if Mauricio comes up, I guess that means Guillorme goes back down. They have to option him again, I think. That seems like the most obvious move. And then I guess just play, it's a numbers game. Like it's the matchup game at that point. Like, all right, historically, who does Mauricio hit better against? He's a shortstop who they moved to second base. So would you have, I don't know. I mean, it's champagne problems, right? It gives Buck more options. And again, I don't think Mauricio is going to come up and struggle that greatly. I think both Vientos of the three kids, quote unquote, Beatty, Vientos, Alvarez, Vientos is struggling the most. And that's because people are saying he's not getting enough playing time, whatever. And he is now. And I don't know that he's really, he's still kind of whatever for me. Hitting the shit out of the ball. I mean, he hits it hard when he doesn't make contact. As does Tommy Pham. He's hitting the ball really hard. So I really do think that the offense will be okay. Obviously not as potent without Alonso. But, yeah. I think I remember saying a few episodes ago, like, if we get to the point where we are 10 games back, which we're almost there now, and we're 10 games under 500, or we're 10 games under 500, that's when I would start to panic. We kind of are getting there, and I'm still not really, I don't know, I'm just not panicking. And I don't think that things are going to get easier. I think that's, the upcoming schedule is not exactly a walk in the park. We're facing the Yankees, 2-game set with the Yankees, 3-game set with the Cardinals, 3-game set with the Astros. That Cardinals Astros, that's 6 games in a row without a break. We do get a break so we have off Monday, the 12th, and then off on Thursday, the 15th. And I think of the 3 series, you would hope to win the Cardinals series. The Yankees, who just lost to the Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball. The Yankees are now 38-29. I think they are probably 9 or 10 games back of the Rays, who are just on fuego. And the Yankees are now 4-6 in their last 10. So I think we have a shot of taking one of 2 from the Yankees. Tuesday, the 13th, we got Luis Severino for the Yankees. He's 0-1, 5.75 ERA, 18 strikeouts against Max, who's 5-2, 3.71 ERA, 58 strikeouts. So I think of the 2 games, because the next game is Garrett Cole, who's 7-1 with a 2.84 ERA, 90 strikeouts. Yikes. Against Verlander, who's 2-3 with a 4.85 ERA, 33 strikeouts. It's like, I guess Verlander's like up and then down and up and down. So his last game, he was down. Maybe this is the one where he plays up to the competition and we see another performance we did against the Guardians and Shane Bieber, where it's like, all right, here's another fellow Cy Young contender winner on the other side of the field, the diamond. So I'm going to step it up and show everyone what I got. So I'd say one of 2. Let's just take one of 2. That'd be nice. I'm not asking for much. And these are both at home. These are both, I think is this a home and away? I don't know. Either way, let's take one of 2 there. And then we got the Cardinals, who are in last place in the NL Central, 27-39, 8 games back. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They're 13-18 at home, 14-21 away. I think that would be a fantastic way to ring in the Father's Day weekend, and before we head to Houston and potentially get our dicks ripped off. I just let's get a sweep, and then maybe that momentum can take us into Houston and change our outlook on life. Houston's in second place behind the Rangers, who are basically almost as good as the Rays. Astros are 37-29, 5 games back. They're 4-6 in the last 10. They're 18-14 at home, 19-15 away. Yeah, I don't see that going well for us. I don't care who the starters are. I think that's going to be, if we avoid the sweep, it'll be a miracle. And then we get off Thursday, the 22nd of June. Yay! Oh boy. So 1 of 2 sweep, cross your fingers. So that's 4-1, 4-4. If we can come 4-4 playing 500 ball over the next 3 series, that's a win in my book. With everything that's going on, it's a win. So I know I mentioned the trade deadline early on in the intro, and then as I was breaking down that Brave series, The three areas that this is from The Athletic, Mets trade deadline needs and how they should be prioritized. The first is relief pitching, as I mentioned. They cited that 2015 season when we had, our bullpen was not exactly top notch. And then we went ahead and made some moves at the trade deadline to bring in Tyler Clippard and Addison Reed. Addison Reed was outstanding, and Clippard was not too shabby himself. So can we make moves like that? And it seems like that's reasonable. It doesn't seem like that's too far-fetched. And I really hope that that's something that has to be addressed, right? Because, we've proven that we can have the offensive firepower. We can get ahead. Can we stay ahead? And we can't rely as much on Ottavino, Raley, and Robertson, because you can see it's just it's impossible to expect them to hold up for as long as they do and have as many appearances as they do. We need someone else to fill in the gaps and step up. So relief pitching for sure. DH, which has been a thorn in our side for a long time now. We've now gone through Daniel Vogelbach and Darren Ruff. Both have not panned out. So what do you do from here? I know Vientos has been DHing. They had Lindor DH. I think Alonso is a good DH when he comes back. But I mean, Vientos, when Vientos is your DH and hitting in the 9 spot, you probably need to do an upgrade there. So I would say DH needs to be a huge focus at the trade deadline. But I would say they have it second on the priority list. I'm going to say it's a mistake. And here's why. Pitching. The offense is going to have good games and bad games. I get it. I know the numbers aren't exactly there where we want them to be from the offense, but they have shown improvement, I think, here and there. There are games where they just completely didn't make the bus, completely they're out to lunch, and it makes you scratch your head. Like, where the hell did this offense go? I still think the offense is not going to be the main issue. And so that's why if you're going to have to pick your spots and prioritize, I don't know that DH is high on the list. Now with all these kids in the lineup, now with all these veterans in the mix, now with all these guys we have in the, there's too many guys in the fold now that could be your guy, So I don't know that DH should be that high up. Relief pitching, yeah, that feels like an easy box to check. Starting pitching is the one that I think I would focus on more than DH. And I'm gonna throw out some takes, and you're gonna scoff your balls off. I get it. But first, this might prove my case, or at least support my case. The last team to receive 100 innings from 4 starters, 34 or older, was the 2006 Mets, whose rotation was in shambles by October. Now, do you remember the new 2006 Mets starting rotation? Tom Glavine, Steve Traxel, Pedro Martinez, El Duque. Those are your 4 right there. Trax, Glavine, Pedro, El Duque. And while Trax and Glavine had 15 wins, congratulations, and they had winning percentages, great winning percentages, Pedro went 9-8 and had an ERA of 4.48. El Duque was 9-7 with an ERA of 4. And what ended up happening in that season, if you remember, is that we had to rely on John Maine, Oliver Perez. I think even Big Pelf had a couple starts in the mix there. So Victor Zambrano, who I can't believe was still on the team. Yeah, and we had to ride Perez and Maine throughout the playoffs. That's what we're dealing with here with these Mets. And I know you're saying, oh, well, Verlander and Scherzer aren't Glavine and Traxel or Pedro. Keep telling yourself that. We're about a month away from Jose Quintana's return, and I would imagine that he's not going to be exactly elite level status when he returns. I think he's going to take some bumps in his first couple starts while he gets his legs underneath him. But David Peterson took a step back. Tyler McGill is okay at home, awful away. Carrasco's set to become a free agent. Max Scherzer has a choice to opt out of his deal. So it seems like they might be interested in a starter that they can then take for this season and beyond. So that's why I think starting pitching has to be right there, 1A, 1B with relief pitching, and DH has to go on the back burner. Just has to, especially with Mauricio possibly coming up and providing you a bat, much needed bat, because he was just, it's every other day. It's like I see on my timeline a video of him smoking a yard job. So here's my hot take. And I don't know, and I have not run this by anyone. I have not looked into any contract details. This is just off the cuff, off the old dome. I think you dangle Scherzer and Verlander as trade bait. I don't know who's going to take it, but if there's a contender in the AL that's feeling spry and feels like a guy like Verlander or Scherzer can come in and provide some veteran stability, what have you, whatever. I hate those contracts, and I think it's not going to do us any good down the stretch. And that's my take. I think you should offer up Justin Verlander and or Max Scherzer and get back an average starter or bullpen. Couple of bullpen guys, maybe a potential DH guy. I honestly think someone would bite on that, despite what's going on this year. But I don't see any way, shape, or form them being able to last the full season and be strong towards the end of the season. I don't see that happening. And maybe this is cold takes exposed, or freezing cold takes, whatever that's called. And I would be overjoyed if that were the case. But I honestly think at the trade deadline, why wouldn't you put that out there? And think about how it frees up your payroll a little bit, take some of the burden off your payroll, and then you can spread the wealth. We've seen their records. The records are nothing great, 2-3, 5-2. The ERAs are not great. And maybe this is hurting their trade value. And I think you're going to get backlash from people being like, why would you go and sign them to these huge contracts if you're just going to turn around and trade them? Well, it's like that. Maybe this is not the market for them. This is not home sweet home for them. This is not a location where they can thrive. So let's find them a spot where they're going to perform better and play better and pitch better. I don't know what you could get in return, but my hope is that you would get a bullpen arm or two, hopefully two. I think that would be pretty sweet. A potential DH, I think you can get something in return. I would rather have a run-of-the-mill, middle-of-the-road starter who costs you way less than what they're costing you. You don't think? I mean, and I understand. I said last week this is just the price of playing in New York. I think there's how there's those inflation calculators, or I wonder how much a dollar was worth in 1952. That's how it is in New York. It's just like a New York dollar is equal to this amount of dollars in Chicago and Oakland. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to overpay. And so with that, there are these heightened expectations because you're the highest paid player. Well, yeah, because you're in New York. If you weighted average salaries, with taxes and all that, there's some kind of formula out there that would prove my theory of it's just because it's New York and everything's fucking more expensive here than it is everywhere else, just about. But even that said, we are overpaying them. I mean, just from a productivity standpoint, and I know that's been the knock on. That's why Lindor's getting so much heat, is because he's got such a high salary, and so everyone expects him to be the best shortstop in every potential category because he is the highest paid. And it's no, it's because he's playing in New York, and it's New York. That's it. So I would just love to get those contracts off the books, especially with their productivity levels. To me, I would gladly accept from Scherzer. I mean, the record's fine, but it's the ERA has to be under 4, and closer to 2. It has to be right around the 3 mark, and it's ballooning back up to 4. And then Verlander has just been a mess. I mean, 2 and 3 with an ERA over 4, that's just. I mean, that's and that last start to me was I just don't think, I don't know what it is, but he just doesn't have it this year. So I personally would not be offended or hurt or butthurt or upset if they decide to trade either one of those guys or both those guys and get a haul in return that can at least give you consistent production. Why are we paying a guy $45 million, $35 million when we could pay a guy $19 and get similar results? And then that opens you up to maybe bring in someone, a reliever or a DH guy that maybe is, currently out of our range due to like the restrictions we have with the payroll based on these two dudes who are pushing 40 and listen, I'm a fellow old, so I am pulling for them because it's so good to see elders respected. But hot damn, man. So that's my hot take. Mets should trade both their aces, quote unquote, and try to get someone who's more middle of the road. I don't know who that would be. I haven't done any research, and I don't know what the market is. I'm assuming it might not be great, but I mean, there's talk. I think you just got to move on. I think you got to admit, like, these were mistakes. And I think they're willing to do that. They've done that. They did it with Darren Ruff. They've done it with, I think they've done it with a couple other players where it's just like, you know what? We thought it was good, was not. And so I know Billy Epler, there was a poll like fire Epler or fire Buck or fire them both. And I'm like, what are we doing? No, you don't fire guys after a 101 win season when we're playing 500 ball the following season and we're not even halfway through the season. That's not, and I understand the Phillies, fire Joe Girardi and they go on to the World Series. Okay. But Girardi had been there for a while, and maybe he was the scapegoat and that was just the kick in the pants that the Philadelphia needed. But I don't think firing Buck's going to do anything except destabilize the clubhouse. And I don't even know who you like. Is it? I just don't think that's the answer at all. When would you fire Buck? If they miss the playoffs this season and it's real bad and it's not due to injury. So like I could see a scenario where it's like in August or September, like we just lose Alonso for the season. Lindor goes down, Nimmo goes down, McNeil goes, like if you have half your lineup is injured or you have half your starting rotation. I mean, we already have half our starting rotation injured, but if 3/5 of your starting rotation is injured, Robertson goes down, if there are major injuries and we miss the playoffs, I still don't think you can fire Buck. If we are 100% healthy and we miss the playoffs, that's I wouldn't bat an eye if he gets canned. Yeah, to have the highest payroll and miss the playoffs, that is not a good look, especially if you're healthy. So Epler's an interesting story, a different story, because I think people are not too high on what's happened with his decisions. Giving up on J.D. Davis and I guess Michael Conforto, but J.D. Davis now is like one of the top OPS leaders at third base. Michael Conforto has gone on a fucking tear where he's had like 7 home runs in his last 7 games or something like that. Just out of control. Whiffing on Daniel Vogelback, giving up a lot of pitching prospects, which we could probably use right now for guys that have not been performing like Darren Ruff and Vogelback. The free agent signings from last year, Canna, Escobar, Marte. Escobar's lost the starting job. Canna and Marte were struggling and appear to have righted the ship a bit. If they can continue to play at this level to the 2022 level, I think that's going to save face for Epler. But yeah, he's got to get crafty and get creative. But thank God we have Stephen Cohen as our goddamn owner, because I think he's not going to be rash. And he's said as much. Like, I'm not going to be rash. I'm not going to make emotional decisions. I didn't get to be as wealthy and as successful as I am doing that and taking that approach. So we're going to reset and be strategic about how we move forward. And I have the utmost confidence in him. Epler, it's kind of like whatever, but there's also news. I saw some reports now that we're basically going to hire David Stearns, who was in the running to be GM, in a high up baseball operations level after the 2023 season. So the future is very bright minus the starting pitching saga, the dilemma that we have going on. Because I think Kodai, A-OK. I think it's Tyler McGill's kind of 50-50 at this point. He's kind of up in the air. We've seen Peterson maybe just doesn't have it just yet. I don't think we're going to bring back. I would think we wouldn't bring back Carrasco again after this season. And then we don't know what we have in Quintana. So there's a lot of question marks for the starting rotation after this season. I would be hard pressed to see us keeping Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander beyond the season, especially if we don't make the playoffs and they continue to perform like they're performing. Why would you? It's a lot of money to tie up in two guys that just aren't giving you, I can't say giving you wins, but giving you the opportunity to win. You know, when Verlander goes out there and gives you less than 4 innings and puts you in such a huge hole, like we could throw any fucker out there and get that done. Like, put me out there. I'd be glad to do it, and I'll do it for $1 million minimum, saving you a ton of cash. So that's the biggest, that's what's got me kind of churning my head gears, is what to do with starting pitching. Relief pitching, it seems like there's probably enough out there that we can make a move or two. And I think we have enough trade value in terms of like field position players, right? We have enough. We have that in bulk so that we can offer a player or two there to get the relief pitching. It's the starting pitching that's going to be rough. You know, I think there were visions of what was it? Kurt Schilling and Randy Johnson for the 2001 Diamondbacks. I'd have to see what their ages were at that time. Schill was 34 and Randy was 37. Okay. Not exactly the same as Verlander and Scherzer, but fucking A. Yeah, I mean, there's a strong possibility that by the time we hit the All-Star break, we're going to be below 500. But does that make us sellers? I don't think so. Yeah, Verlander's 40, Carrasco's 36, Scherzer's 38. I just, all three for me, I was not high on. If you remember when we were saying who should stay, who should go, I was like, I'd be fine with Carrasco taken off and not coming back. And yeah, so I just think that's going to be the major issue. That's going to, if anything, you know, it's the pitching, man. It's the pitching. And what do you do? Like, okay, so in terms of position players that could be potential trade bait, like, are you willing to move on from Narvaez, who's only played 8 games? But like, you feel like you have your guy in Francisco Alvarez. Do you think you can give up a Vientos and Narvaez for a starting pitcher? These are the hard decisions you have to make. If you really truly feel that this is a team that can contend and win a World Series, either you punt this, like there's talk about punting the season, which is, it's kind of crazy when it's not even halfway over. And you're not you're not the A's. All right. A's have 17 wins. All right. I don't believe in punting the season, but you do have to make hard decisions. And those hard decisions often come with like the fact that you have Mauricio coming up. Does that mean that Jeff McNeil is a trade candidate? This is what you're going to have to see. And this is maybe part of the process, is like, if Mauricio gets called up and he plays at the level that Alvarez is playing, or even Beatty, does that say to you, okay, McNeil's 31, is he trade bait? There are guys that you're not going to trade, right? At this point, I mean, there's talk about like, would you trade Alvarez? Would Alvarez be involved in a trade package for like Shohei Ohtani? And people are like, no. It's like, these are the tough decisions you make. You want someone like Ohtani now, you're going to have to give up someone that's like top echelon. But like, is McNeil a trade candidate? You just signed Nimmo to a long extension, so no there. I don't know that Marte and Canna, who are both 34, have a market. Vogelback might get DFA'd. Pham's 35. Escobar is 34. You're not going to trade Guillorme. So really, for me, it might be Mark Vientos and Omar Narvaez. Or this could be an audition for Ronny Mauricio to be trade bait. If he comes up and he shines, it's like, okay, maybe we can get a pretty good haul in return. And that's all you're looking at here. How can we get better? And sometimes that means you have to take one of your better players and sacrifice one of your better players to help in other areas. Can you trade McNeil for a bullpen arm or two or a starting pitcher? Can you trade Vientos and Narvaez? It's Narvaez is probably not going to be traded just because I just like the catcher position. If anything happens to Alvarez, then we're truly fucked. So I think Narvaez is probably out. But then, so you have to start looking at, I think Vientos is the guy. If you think that you're a World Series contender, and it really is a matter of getting that arm, a better arm in the starting rotation and an arm in the bullpen, it could be the difference that could lead to half a dozen more wins, which could be the difference between a playoff spot and not a playoff spot. As it stands right now, I don't think anyone's saying that we're a World Series contender, but still a lot of season left. I personally still would like to see more out of Marte. I know we just said that he's getting hot, especially over the last 2 weeks, but he is not slugging. He has the lowest, outside of Vogie, he has the lowest slugging percentage of our 9 starters, 333. He's not hitting home runs and not hitting doubles and not hitting triples. The triples number is pretty bonkers. He's tied for third in the most hits, but he's, tied for second to last in doubles, and he's only has 3 home runs, not walking a whole lot. His OPS is below 650. His OPS plus is 83. Marte has to play better. And maybe this resurgence is just the tip of the iceberg. Maybe we're going to see a lot more of this heading forward. I still think he's got some kind of injury or something. I don't know. Because he just has been playing pretty poorly. And I don't know that Brett Beatty has been playing that good. I mean, he was playing better than Escobar, but we still need him to play better. McNeil has to slug more. Lindor cannot strike out as much as he does. This team has been kind of carried by Alonso, Alvarez, and Nimmo, and Canna in certain respects. So that's what lies ahead. You feel with Beatty, amongst the slumping batters, right, offensively, amongst the slumping batters in the lineup, I think you have the most hope for someone like a Brett Beatty, because it's okay, he's young. This major league level is tough, but he's hanging in there. So maybe he's the one that he can overcome this funk. Marte, I don't know. I have I'm trying to stay positive, but I have a very negative outlook on Marte moving forward. Vogelback's probably getting DFA'd. And then McNeil, it's what is he going to turn on the second half of the season? I mean, there have been times with McNeil where I forget what season it was, whether it was 2019 or 2021, might have been even last year, where it's he goes through the stretches where he's not, it's all singles. And then all of a sudden he'll just go on a tear where he's hitting a lot more home runs, a lot more extra base hits, launch angle improves. So I have most confidence in McNeil to start slugging, followed very closely by Brett Beatty. And I just don't think Marte is really going to turn around to the point where he was at last year. But you got to feel good about Canna turning it on and at least showing some promise and potential. But I can't say the same for Marte. Oh boy. So that's that. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And we will talk to you soon. All right. Chin up, head up. You got to believe. We got to believe. Don't Stop Believing from a band named Journey. This is, it's dark and it's gotten darker. And it probably will get a little bit darker, but you just got to hang on. survive. That's the motto. Survive. Stay ahead. Get ahead, stay ahead, survive. By any means necessary. I'm tired of seeing Tommy Hunter in big spots late in the game. I know he's a great guy, but holy fuck. It's like every time he's in, he's like, this is definitely going to have, we're definitely going to see a home run or two. But my God, if they can ever course correct the bullpen and we get Quintana back, it's just hard to find wins, you know? That's that. Again, I hate to like beat a dead horse, but the starting pitching, like it's hard to look at, you know, because I think leading into the season, you think to yourself, okay, with the top three of Verlander, Scherzer, and Senga, we're going to win most of the series because we're going to win most of those matchups and majority of the time, and we're just not. So, with the exception of Senga, and it was, I really wish that Carrasco, you know, that 2-game stretch that we saw from him where he was giving us like 6 innings and limiting the damage. Like that would have been so nice if that was like the way. This is the way. But I don't think that's the case either. So, I mean, you can't have all these old ass pitchers. I know I'm older than them, but my arm is linguini, dude. So I don't know how they're doing it. Godspeed. But I think that's the major shakeup is the starting pitching. So Steve Cohen, get all your top men in a room, big ass conference room, oak table, leather chairs. And you say to yourself, all right, men, and women, here's what we got going on. Here's the tough decision we're going to have to make. And here's what we can get back in return. And we're going to use these super advanced algorithms and analytics to show that, yes, these people that we're getting in return, people are going to laugh at these moves. But ultimately, they were payoff. All right, that's enough. We'll talk to you again. Adios, muchachos.